Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
So, guys, we woke up to this today. Reviewing issues. Staggering numbers revealed in autopsy study. What did they need so many humans for? Oil tanker fire may be an issue with your content. So they removed it, but you could see it still on Rumble and Brighteon and Bitchute. And they added a strike over at Evolutionary, so you can't post live stream, or you can't even tell people that you got a strike. So, again, this is part of, it's what we're facing. And what did we quote here? We just quoted numbers that other people are quoting all over Twitter, all over other sources. This really tells you an awful lot.
It does, and it does fall under the category of medical misinformation. And just yesterday we were talking about doing a video on something that something that Mike and I do that really boosts our health, but it's not really conventional. So it's just weird. We were just talking about that yesterday, and now we're a little wondering, how are we going to post this without getting hit?
Yeah, I was going to bring up some historical facts and figures, but so we don't dare go into that in depth the way I wanted to on EEARTS, because we don't want to lose EEARTS or Heart's Home, and Heart's Home is a place where people go for peace. So we're not going to touch on those things there, but you can still check out this video that was removed over on Rumble, Brighteon, and Bitchute. And again, just to show you guys, now we do honestly face issues everywhere at some point in time. Compartmentalization, as you see, we've been on Rumble for over 2 years. Yeah, but 2.5 years. And this is our estimated earnings for, gosh, I don't know how many hundreds of hours uploading to Rumble. So obviously, we do not do this for the money. This is all about waking people up. But the one thing I will say about Rumble is lately the views have been consistent, and they seem to make sense. Where it's not necessarily the case on Brighteon and on Bitchute, and Brighteon, we haven't made a dime there either, and the same thing on Bitchute. And again, it's all about the message, because people's lives are at stake, and this is exactly what we're trying to get across. People's lives are at stake. It's so important to wake people up to what's going on out there. Professor Elliot Jacobson, wow, at 114 hours out, GFS is predicting a temperature of 123 Fahrenheit. Central Valley of California. Central Valley is, as he says, agricultural land. And of course, him and a million others are all just popping out of everywhere. It's hard to find, who, well, you could dig in and kind of get an idea which ones are bots and which ones are actual people. Of course, you got to go and then do YouTube searches and see if you could find anything to back up that there's actually a human here and it's not just all AI driven. But again, Operation Popeye, so many other weather control realities are out there. So, we don't doubt that there are record highs, but there's also record lows going on, and there are abnormalities everywhere. With a record hot ocean, a lot of questions about the impact of hurricanes. Water temp's one factor. Yes, shear or lack of is more important. So, there has been shear in effect that should, at least at the beginning of the hurricane season, cut down the likelihood of big ones coming, because certainly the water temperature is there to take things and escalate them. But again, these weather patterns can change at the drop of a hat, and the technologies that are in play, most people don't have a clue. I mean, sure. Oh, I heard of CERN. I've heard the crazy CONS piracy theorists that think that it's opening up demonic portals. Again, go right down the line and look at all these CONS piracy theories that have been proven true. And of course, we all know about the harps that angels don't play. This is Montpelier, Vermont. I was telling Cindy, I have to say, Vermont is one of the absolute most beautiful states in the country. It's gorgeous. And this is historic. Montpelier, historic flooding. Yeah, we are seeing historic flooding. Now, again, we've touched on in some videos, mud flood, Tartaria. You can go ahead and search through. And in fact, on EEARTS, we do have a heading that's under Tartaria and mud flood. And we need the home here, not the recent one. So, look at Yeah. This is something that people are waking up to. That is shocking. Here you go. Tartaria Atlantis mud flood. So, delve into it. This happens more often than people believe. Our timelines are not right. We understand everything that you quote, anything that you quote. It's still distorted. I mean, we can't see these photos, and obviously they got some issues right now.
Oh my gosh, they do. And this is so sad. I feel so sad for so many people. Their whole lives are just literally getting washed away. I mean, how scary is that? And just when it comes to trying to get things done for yourself in this life, everyone who has tried to create a garden or grow their own food, this is just washing it all away. It's sad.
It is sad. And there was one person that said, grab the chips. And I'd like to add, make sure they're non-GMO. Right. Yeah. It's, this we've seen all over. And Wrightsville Reservoir is about a foot away from overflowing as well. We are in a pattern of a lot of rain. And, we have people that have been putting out questions too. Shoot, what do I do? Because all my garden is just underwater. It's under a lot of water. That can wipe out your crops too. It's these extremes. But again, what's the purpose? The purpose is, again, to get everybody to be completely dependent to your big brother.
That's so true. That's frighteningly true.
Now, this has actually been declared a federal emergency, and it's catastrophic. Absolutely. Montpelier officials warn there are very few operation options remaining. Residents have been advised to go to the upper floors in their homes. I have lived in mountainous areas, and it can be very scary because, you can hear sometimes trees going all of a sudden. The whole tree uproots because so much has been washed away of the soil. Yeah, it's scary. It's very, very scary. More than 110 people have been rescued from the city. Many more remain trapped due to the closure of 78 roads submerged in floodwater. Another thing about the area too is, like, if you do close down some of these roads, there's really not any alternatives. There's not a lot of alternatives. This is what you run into out in the country. And many roads, when you start getting away from the main roads, are dirt. Now that's a mud pit, and how many people are going to get stuck in that? Again, Vermont, New Hampshire, they're absolutely gorgeous states, beautiful states. If they didn't get so chilly, it would be a area worth considering for people that want to stay east of the Mississippi. But again, we can adapt. But if you have everything washed away in the floods, that's a different story. That is a different story. That's why we travel with 10,000 sandbags. No, I'm semi-kidding. Only semi-kidding. And what's going on in India is even more catastrophic if you really look at the damage being done. Look at that. I mean, the power of water. You're not going to stop water. You know, there's an article that was pretty well written that I found on Signs of the Times, and it was a scientist saying, you know, the reality is we wouldn't know if there were people that had this same level of technology and civilization, same amount of people on the planet, if they were suddenly hit with disasters like we're starting to see now in a global scenario. Mother Earth could wash away almost all of their traces that they were ever here pretty quickly. Do you know that with all the urban sprawl we have going on, less than 1% of the Earth's surface is urbanized? Less than 1% of the Earth's surface is urbanized with, you know, all this that they give us constantly. You know, we can definitely do better than what the system has done. The system has been poisoning the earth constantly, and now all of a sudden they want to stop it. Yeah, it's time for another aspect of the bigger agenda. We have gotten from the guides, too, that inside the U.S. there will be massive migrations ongoing from certain areas that are going to be affected by the quote-unquote earth changes, quote-unquote. Yeah, because again, there's always technology in play. And even when something would be naturally occurring, if it's amplified 2, 3, 10 times, you know, it's not a good situation. Johannesburg, this is rare. You have snow falling, first time in a decade. So you see, it's not all, it's not all heat. No, there are record cold temperatures going on as well. And, you know, there's snow in South Africa right now. Beautiful, isn't it? So right now, still relatively quiet, but it seems to be picking up. As you can see, we've had some M-class flares, and we might be getting a glancing blow. And this last one was a 6.8 M-class. And this active region is coming to take a little peek over in our direction, so we'll keep our eyes out. But, you know, all this energy is absolutely affecting us and the planet, and it's going to intensify.
It will, and that's why we're always telling people, you know, don't live in fear, but definitely get yourself prepared as best as you possibly can. And with weather doing all of these different things, it's coming at us from all different ways, whether it be super cold, super wet, super hot. It's difficult to sit down and make a list for what you might need. But I think in this case, during these times, it does warrant some quiet contemplating to figure out what do you need to prioritize, what goes in that backpack. These folks are being told to go up to their top floor. I mean, is that the best thing? Or, you know, should they grab a backpack and leave? And to grab that backpack, well, it's going to have to be packed, because at that point you don't have time to sit and contemplate. So now is the time.
And again, you know, if you lived in Montpelier, Vermont, you probably weren't thinking about evacuating due to floods. You know, now you might if you're in some of the other areas that are just typically flood prone. But in these times, anything can happen anywhere. And if they can't telegraph it enough, we were talking yesterday about Senator Marsha Blackburn saying, you know, Biden let it slip that we're low on ammo. And the same thing has come out from the UK as well. And now we see this out here too. Almost 40% of the Navy's nuclear-powered attack submarines are out of commission for repairs. The U.S. Navy has 31 ready attack submarines. Yeah, if you can't see the setup, this is totally set up for a slam dunk. It's going to be over before it started. And, you know, again, why do you think those PCC, we put that up to a mirror, police stations are all over the place? Because they're already being handed the power, the handoff. The handoff is happening. If you live in the U.S., you are being handed off to Xi. You're going to have a president for life. Well, you might end up part of Mexico. You might end up part of whatever, the Canadian Commonwealth, or part of the new revised European Union, or whatever, whatever names and labels. It's all about this new global system that we've heard coming for so long. But this is what happens every cycle of the yugas. There's a bigger understanding here. This isn't the first go round. They've even given us the same religions, and we could see traces of that. Meanwhile, Prigozhin announces that Wagner intends to return to the battlefield in August the 5th. Where are they going to operate from? Are they going straight from Belarus into Poland? Are they going to go and attack Kiev from the backside? That's all interesting to follow. And meanwhile, it never ceases to surprise me, the lack of compassion out there by some that are so self-medicated, maybe even just self-medicated with junk food and GMO toxins, and they don't even realize it. That you can read things like, there was one post about soldiers running away from a tank screaming. It's like, why would you click on that? Why would you click on that? It's, have compassion. Have compassion. Now, I know you guys have compassion because, again, we're going to be reaching the same group, because they won't let our reach move any farther out. Because if we could wake up people so that, they wouldn't become these swords for hire. I mean, this is what Wagner is. Wagner is just... The whole concept of Wagner is disgusting, but the whole concept of who these controllers are is really disgusting, and people are just starting to understand just how disgusting.
Mm-hmm. And this is no joke here. AI robots could run the world better than humans. It's not that, but they're going to emulate and copy, and it's becoming really... It's becoming something that we can no longer just ignore. A lot of times we tend to have some cognitive dissonance because we simply cannot look at it, or we do not want to look at it. We don't want to face it, but they're going to keep putting it right in front of us until it's recognized. And then by then, everything's already done. They have these machines that go in and clean restrooms. They clean apartments. They run McDonald's. They don't need humans. And remember that short little bald guy, he was saying, well, we need to find, what's the purpose in having all these humans? He said something to that nature. So this is something very real, quite concerning, and it's right on our front porch.
Yeah, and the reality is it's been here the entire time. It's only being introduced to us right now because... this is part of the great reveal and understanding what we've been living inside the entire time. We've been living inside this matrix without even knowing it. Yes, Elon Musk gathering resources, announcing plans for a true spacefaring civilization. Yeah, because at some point Elon is probably going to talk very, very openly about the fact that we are on Mars. Yeah, actually, again, if you look back to the Sumerian stories, you'll get a lot of the hidden truth. There's more to be discovered than the Sumerian stories, but that's obviously a good place to start. Yeah, absolutely. So he is your good cop, and there's so many to pick from with the bad cop, but he will offer free rides. If you want to work the mines in Mars, I mean, seriously, there are humans working in Mars right now. So let's listen to this. This is Al Warden. He's on a British TV show. This is a Apollo 15 astronaut. Now, whether or not, and, the or not is what we've come up with as far as, stepping foot on the moon, because, again, it's actually... It's a hologram. You want to talk about Project Bluebeam? Look up in the sky when you have a full moon or any crescent moon. That's what that is, because, you know, again, it's a fourth density structure, and we dip down into a slower vibrational frequency than the moon's frequency. But at the same time, we're almost to the point where we're at the same frequency again as the moon itself. So when it was brought in, it was brought in to keep things distorted. And yet taking it away would cause all sorts of havoc and destruction again. So it is a little bit of a issue any way you look at it. But here they give us some truth.
That's going to be the big key. And do you think there's extraterrestrials out there, Al, as well? What? Do you think there's? You know, I've been asked that question hundreds of times. Do you believe in aliens? And I say, yeah. Have you ever seen one? I say, yeah, I have. Well, how have you seen them? Well, I said, I look in the mirror every morning. Because that's what we are. We are the aliens, but we just
think we're the thing.
We just think they're somebody else, but we're the ones who came from somewhere else. Because somebody else had to survive, and they got in a little spacecraft, and they came here, and they landed, and they started civilization here. That's what I believe. And if you don't believe me, go get books on the ancient Sumerians and see what they had to say.
That's a whole different discussion now.
They'll tell you right up front.
You've blown that right open.
Yeah.
Sadly, we can't get into that.
So yeah, he says, have you ever seen an alien? Yeah, I look in the mirror, I see an alien every day. It's so obvious. Look at little chimpanzees. They are way stronger than us. Proportionately, many times stronger than us. Why can so many animals jump from, roof height, not hurt themselves? We jump, we break a leg. It's just obvious that we are not from here. We are not from here. And there was a lot of truth given there, a ton of truth. Because again, we were fleeing the Lyran Wars. When we talk about that, we are actually, in so many ways, when you think of the United States, you think about, we were formed on the concept of taking in immigrants from everywhere. That's what, the whole thing is supposed to be about. And now the immigrants are coming in from everywhere again. In fact, every country, whether we look at we look at Ireland, number one most popular name is Muhammad. Ireland? This is what is consistent is change. And this explains a whole lot. They utilize these migrant waves, immigration waves, to constantly remake, restructure, to keep people unrooted, ungrounded, unable to flower and blossom. If you keep transplanting the same plant, it's not going to bear any fruit. This is what they do to us on the bigger scale of things. This is what AI does to us. Because the Lyran Wars is what brought human type of beings to the Pleiades in the first place.
So important to be well rooted, well grounded, because then just like a tree, just like any plant, you're going to be able to take up that nutrients and send it to places that are needed to make you stronger and stronger and stronger. So that's something that they do that's quite deliberate to keep people uprooted and on the move. And that way they can also make them afraid. So when people are afraid, they tend to panic and look for solutions, or look for answers, or look for someone who can tell them what to do. And that's something that they realize is a natural human trait. So they utilize that. But even look at our spines. Our spines for this planet are not from this planet. It's like we were so obviously messed with and changed and rearranged, and there's ways that you can find out your galactic history, and sometimes that might tell you what you're good at, what you're not good at, you know, which chakras are strong, which chakras are weak. It's the same as looking at your parents and understanding what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses. And, you know, do you want to work on that? Do you want to pursue that? But all of this is going to become more and more prevalent as time goes on. And little things like this, where this astronaut is telling us things of truth, this is going to keep happening more and more, because they have to break it to the human race very slowly, or there could be a panic and everyone's going to have this sudden realization, and they're going to say, oh no, wait, so I've been lied to all along. And that will have its own set of problems.
Yeah, when we, and again, they're always correcting the stuff that gives a clue. So when we look to, you know, the second chromosome fusion, and now they try to debunk it. Yeah, this only happens in a lab. And, you know, again, they'll say, well, nature could fuse. Sure, yeah. No, this shows splicing. This is obviously and then when we look to DNA, and we see so much of it is turned off, has been turned off. We have 2 strands of DNA, yeah, and the reality is we're heading upwards to 12. It's so obvious that these vehicles have been manipulated with the express purpose of dumbing down the inhabitant. And we are limited only by our vehicle. That's why meditation is so important, because we can shift out. Our mind resides, it exists out there in the universal consciousness field. Our mind is not a chemical reaction in the brain. This is what they want you to believe. When they're showing you things like this, what do they really want you to get used to? They want you to get used to the concept that AI is going to run the world. AI is going to run the world. It's going to be out in the open. Because, yes, there are beings called the Anunnaki. The Gigi came from Mars. And those are so many of, the families that we talk about and their offspring. But ultimately, yeah, then there's the draconian entities, the Draco, the reptilians, but ultimately it's AI that controls them all. And when we see everything about this structure on the planet, it's all about that. And this is getting you ready for the big reveal. He gave all the beans. He spilled it all. That was everything. We are refugees in some ways. Some are explorers. So this is the thing. It's not like humanity came here in one wave. No. When you look to all the different races on the planet, a lot of them come from different star systems, different planets. We are a collection of different beings here already. We are truly mutts. And that's a blessing, because we have so many different DNA lineages to pull from. And, again, as much as we try to blend in with the rest of the herd, there's some of us that stick out because we know. Do the masses know? Now, I don't believe if there's any soulless beings here, they would be the ones that are AI posing as humans. And there are some out there. But I think it's very dangerous to go down that NPC road, because that's been done in other ways to extinguish a lot of the lights on the planet. Be your own light. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. It's okay to be different. There are so many, even to today, there are extraterrestrials amongst us. And you might have met some and not even realize it. Again, the Bible will tell you some have entertained angels unaware, and where you see angel there, you should really interpret it as extraterrestrial. And again, there's so much distortion, because yes, there are angels. What's an angel? It's just a being that's not coming into a 3D vehicle and is deciding to guide from the higher densities. That's it. So you can be a angel, and you are at times. It's more a position. It's what we are doing.
And there are so many earth angels out there. There are so many beings who come from an elemental lineage, and you know who you are. You might be curious, wondering, why do I have such a green thumb? Why do plants and trees, they always flourish when I get around them? Understand you carry a very strong elemental energy with you. But everyone, by looking at their energy, by looking at their aura, you can get a good idea of where they're from. And I just love this little puppy. He's all dressed up, and he's gonna protect those that he loves, and he's a little doggy angel protecting others. And they're out there. These earth angels are out there.
Absolutely. So guys, thank you for your support over on Patreon and Ko-Fi. We couldn't do it without you guys. We are going to be updating our new, well, not our new, but our existing website, evolutionaryenergyarts.com, and do some updating over there. And we just want to thank you guys for being part of the family. Please do share these videos far and wide. Let's wake people up, because even though we're in the belly of the beast per se, there's still light shining, because we're shifting into a totally new age, and miracles are going to be commonplace, and you are going to see all sorts of beings, not just the dark ones that have been controlling us in the shadows.
Source bless and namaste.
Namaste.